I told my cousin why everyone in the family hates her mom. Am I the jerk? Yesterday, my cousin celebrated her 18th birthday. She was in charge of her own guest list for family members, so I was the only family member she invited. We have always had a great relationship. I wasn't aware of this when I arrived, so I asked her why she didn't at least invite her grandparents. Her answer was kind of obvious, because everyone in the family always treated her mom poorly. And since her mom said she didn't have to invite everyone in the family this time, she chose not to. What I didn't understand though was why not our grandparents, as they always treated my cousin well. She then explained, yes, they gave her nice gifts, but they always spoke disrespectfully to her mom and didn't help her out when they were struggling financially. It was clear she still didn't know the full truth, so I thought, she's old enough, legally an adult. If she goes no contact with our grandparents, the truth will eventually come out. They're planning on paying for her college. So I might as well rip off the band-aid now. So I told her why her mom was ostracized by the family. My aunt was the youngest of 5 children, always being doted on. My grandparents are hard workers. They put all their kids through college. When my aunt used her college fund to start a bakery, instead of cutting her off like they threatened to do with the other kids, they were actually happy for her and supportive. This strained the relationship with the other siblings, but they still loved each other. Initially, the bakery was successful. I am not too familiar with all the details. What I do know is that when the 2008 financial crisis hit, things weren't looking good. To avoid bankruptcy, my aunt took loans from some loan sharks. In short, it was a messy situation, and my family had to go through some difficulties to help out my aunt, which also involved the police. After that, the relationship between siblings became strained, and they didn't want anything to do with her. My grandparents decided that my aunt would have to figure out how to pay the remaining debt to banks, not the loan sharks, herself. However, they always treated my cousin properly. After hearing this, my cousin froze. Her initial reaction was to ask her mom, hoping it wasn't true. Her mom froze, started crying, essentially admitting guilt. Then chaos ensued, with screaming, shouting, and calls to the rest of the family. Now, I am viewed as the antagonist. She deserves to know the truth, especially when making big decisions about her life based on incomplete information. Someone had to tell her, even if people tend to shoot the messenger. The aunt should have stepped up and told her daughter the truth herself instead of relying on others. You were being factual, and I think you are definitely not in the wrong here. Am I the jerk for lending my friend more money than she asked for? So we are both in our 30s. Let's call her by a fake name, Harmony. Harmony doesn't make a lot of money and often struggles to make ends meet. I don't judge her, and I help her as much as I can. Throughout the school year, I wake up at 5:30 a.m. to let her child in, so I can take them to school, while Harmony goes to work at 6 a.m. I don't charge her anything. I also watch her child for 3 days a week during summer break. Last Wednesday, Harmony asked to borrow money from me. She mentioned needing around $25 or $30. I agreed and Venmo'd her $50. She thanked me and paid me back $50 on Friday, just 2 days later. Today is Monday, 2 days after she repaid me, and she is asking to borrow money again. When I inquired about the amount, she said $30.50. So I sent her $100 with the same logic as before. After receiving the Venmo, she texted me saying she wished I wouldn't do that. I told her to either keep $50 as a cushion or send it back if she didn't want it. She Venmo'd it back with the reason for the money being here. She hasn't said anything since, but I feel like what I thought was a nice gesture really wasn't. So, am I the jerk for sending more money than she asked for? There are no jerks here, Op, but it's important to be mindful of how your generosity might be perceived. Harmony might feel like you're acting financially superior by constantly sending more than she asks for, and it could complicate her efforts to keep track of what she owes. There's also the risk that she might end up spending the extra money on non-necessities, which can create a cycle of debt. It's great to help, but sometimes meeting people's needs exactly as they ask is the best way to support them. Am I the jerk for calling my best friend's fiancé an ah? My 28-years-old female best friend, 28 years old female, is getting married in December this year to her boyfriend, 36-years-old male of 5 years. Per our tradition, couples usually tell each other's parents first that they want to get married. Then they'll start planning for the proposal engagement ceremony and the wedding. Her fiancé's dad wants a big wedding and agreed to pay for the wedding, from inviting 300 people, the decor, the dress, the wedding organizer, down to their customized wedding rings. They both started planning with their wedding organizer since January this year. Safe to say my best friend's stress has been high. She's been complaining about how busy she is with the whole planning with the wedding organizer. I've offered to help with some, but she declined and said this is her event. She doesn't want to bother or burden us with anything. For weeks now, I've been thinking where the hell is her fiancé in all this planning? She's the one who made appointments for suit and dress fitting for them, the one looking for decor color theme, the venue, the food, making guest lists, looking for invitation vendors, guest souvenir vendors, and many others. Her fiancé's sister-in-law criticized a lot of her choices, calling her color choice wrong for a December wedding, to telling her the best time for holy matrimony so she, the sister-in-law, won't have to wake up early, and her fiancé didn't defend my best friend at all. Last week she mentioned that she had a fight with her fiancé because she'd been asking him to check out the venue for their engagement photo shoot together with her, which she also looked for herself, and he kept delaying it. They finally did, but she's still annoyed at how lax her fiancé has been in all this. The final kicker was when she said her fiancé hasn't even made any appointment with the jeweler for their customized wedding rings. The wedding is 6 months away, and it takes at least 4 months to get customized rings here. Could take longer. Now I know my words next were a little harsh, but I just couldn't keep quiet about it. I told her that her fiancé has been a big asshole. This is their wedding, not just hers. I asked her if she's 100% sure she wants to marry this guy now. Their 5 years haven't been smooth sailing, but now, all the little things they fought over when they were dating have become glaring red flags. The one asking to have this big wedding is his dad. The fact that none of his family actually helped her planning, just criticizing, and how her fiancé does nothing. It's like a prelude to how their marriage is going to be. She went silent, then told me that I shouldn't have called her fiancé an asshole and that he's just not good with planning stuff. She said I'm being very insensitive and mean about the whole thing and hung up on me. I didn't mean it to be mean. I just want her to realize that her fiancé is a major asshole. Am I the asshole for telling her all this? Sounds like your friend was looking to vent, rather than get any feedback. She agreed to this situation and can say enough at any time. It's pretty much a sunk cost fallacy at this point, and while you may be right, getting involved could cost you the friendship. In the end, you did a difficult thing by showing you care, but sometimes people need to come to their own realizations. Am I the jerk for attending my child's game when their other parent said I shouldn't? I had been divorced from my ex since December. We got divorced after I discovered her affair. After she said she would never be faithful to me again, we separated and the marriage was over. We share custody of our 4-year-old son. I only live in this town because we moved here for her to go to school, where she met her affair partner and left me. So I'm really only here for my son. He is currently playing t-ball and had his second game the other week, where the issue started. After that game, my ex and I got into a few verbal arguments about how I treated her affair partner and mother, and that I was apparently rude and unwelcoming to them. I still don't know what I should have done in that situation. Was I supposed to be jolly and act like their affair and lies didn't matter? Like I was supposed to treat them as family? No thanks. I don't plan to be rude, but I don't see any need to be friendly either. I'm just neutral as I'm tired of giving her or them any of my emotions. Now, to the issue. My son and his team were invited to the local AAA ball club for their season opener to meet the team and watch the game on a Wednesday. So I told my ex I would meet them there as this was a fun event that I wanted to be present for with my son. She said that I was not invited and should not go as it is her day to have my son. And because I created an uneasy feeling for her being around my ex, I shouldn't go. I took this very personally as there was no way I was going to be denied time with my son due to her issues. She said, well, if you're there, just know it's my right if we do not come at all, to which I responded, I will be fine and can handle being around you all. So if you don't come, that's on your conscience. Well, I went to the game and she did not. She did not bring our son, so there I was as the only parent without their child present for the game. I still joined the team as I'm an honorary coach and wanted to support them all, but I left soon after as I just didn't know what to do. I feel as if she has chosen her comfort over what was best for our son. I'm not even mad, just disappointed and realizing how selfish she is. But Reddit, am I the asshole? I know I have every right to be at my son's events, and I'm not going to sacrifice that time with him, but this was just hard to bear, so I'm seeking advice. I felt like my son was robbed of a wonderful moment, and that this will be a theme for our post-divorce life, and I don't want that for my kid. We have not spoken on the issue since it happened. She says we need to respect each other and act like stable parents, but then she goes and pulls this on me, which I feel is way more disrespectful. But could I be wrong? Thanks for your comments in advance. You are not in the wrong here. The wife is using the son as a pawn, and it's not acceptable. It's even worse since she's the one who cheated. Documenting these instances and bringing them up in court could be crucial. Courts are supposed to prioritize the best interest of the child, and isolating him from his activities isn't in his best interest. Am I the jerk for continuing stupid arguments with my friend? I have had a couple of best friends for over 10 years, and we have always gotten along well. One of these friends, however, I constantly get into stupid arguments with. We are infamous in our friend group for stupid arguments that can last multiple days and even lead to anger on both sides. These stupid arguments can disrupt our friend group for a day or so. Things we have actually argued about, whether Crocs are shoes or sandals. I took the position that Crocs were shoes and therefore sandals because sandals are shoes. He took the position that Crocs were sandals and that sandals were not shoes. No number of dictionary entries could convince him. This one was at a restaurant and got so heated that he shoved the table into my stomach. We were sitting across from each other, and stormed out dramatically, stating he was walking home. This one didn't last more than that night and did involve alcohol, but only a drink each. We then followed him in a car until we could convince him to get back in the car and get dropped off. Whether or not a smartphone is an audio-video recording device, we were going somewhere that didn't allow audio-video recording devices. I wondered if this would include phones. He said he wasn't worried about it. Then I asked him if he considers a smartphone an audio-video recording device. He said it depends on what you are currently doing with it at that moment. I argued that a microphone and camera probably would not be allowed, and even if they were not recording at the moment. This one got pretty heated and my dad even joined, but on his side. My dad didn't seem to have a good grasp of that argument though. Most of these would get heated enough to involve some mild yelling. I always kinda just wrote it off as my friend being difficult and stubborn, but I recently had a similar fight with my dad, and now I'm worried I'm the problem. My difficult friend is looking to get a bike, and I'm helping him shop. He sent my dad and me a link to a 2014 GSXR 1000cc bike that makes about 180 PT. I told him this was a lot of bike to start on and he should shop for a 650 sport bike at most. My dad doesn't like that I told him to go smaller because I started on a 950, and we had a long argument about how different the power of the bikes would be. Top speed, speed in each gear, 0-60 time, and horsepower evidence on Google all failed to convince him of the difference between the bikes. I can't stress enough how much I love these people and how important they are to me. We also get along really well most of the time, and I don't know why we clash so hard. From my perspective, they are just unbelievably stubborn, and maybe I need to stop arguments if they are pointless. But it's really hard for me to stop when I think the person I'm arguing with is so blatantly wrong. Everyone sucks here. Y'all sound exhausting. Engaging in arguments, even if frequent or seemingly trivial, can be a form of bonding and learning about each other's perspectives. However, it's important to strive for a respectful and constructive approach to disagreement. It's surprising this friend group hasn't broken the two of you off, considering how often these arguments occur. Am I the jerk for not helping my depressed sibling? I am a 14-year-old female with a 12-year-old brother, Jake. Recently, my dad and I have noticed him feeling down and overall demotivated, which my dad decided to diagnose as depression. My dad talked to me about it to try and get me to help him by cheering him up, hanging out with him, etc. Often, I am busy with school and tests, but I try to be nicer and hang out with him more while being normal. This weekend, we were up at our upstate house and we have a pool there. My dad asked me to take Jake to the pool and hang out with him to make him happier. The only problem is that I have severe self-image issues, and the only bathing suits at the house are two-piece ones I last wore when I was 10. It is horrible enough to try to fit into them to see if I even still fit, let alone be in a pool with them with people watching me. I am also extremely insecure about people looking at or touching me, especially when I have fewer clothes on for personal reasons. My dad is unaware of this, nor am I keen on letting him know. However, I did tell him that I was not comfortable with getting in the pool for personal reasons. I have said this many times before, including mere hours before he asked me to join my brother in the pool. When I told him no repeatedly and stated I was uncomfortable with being in the pool, he didn't say anything except, "Depression is a really scary thing, and I'm worried for him," with a look on his face that looked weary and slightly frustrated with me. I am aware of how dangerous depression is, seeing as I have had it and kept it hidden for 5 years. I am well aware that my brother may have depression, and I am trying to help him however I can. While at the time, I thought that it was fine to not do it as I felt uncomfortable, I'm wondering if I'm really doing the right thing, putting my needs before his own. I feel like I should do as he says and suck it up and just deal with it and be uncomfortable for just a little bit so he can feel happier. I'm not sure. Should I just suck it up and deal with it? Am I the asshole for saying no? TL doctor, am I the asshole for not going swimming with my depressed brother to cheer him up because I have severe self-image issues? You are not the jerk. Your dad is an asshole for putting the responsibility on you instead of stepping up himself. It's important to set boundaries, even when helping loved ones, and your dad is guilt-tripping you with remarks about depression being scary. You can still support your brother in activities you both enjoy that don't make you uncomfortable. Communicating with your dad about your insecurities might help him understand your perspective better. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.